General Hospital. Dante strikes Lulu in rage after Rocco's revelation. The sun rose over Port Charles, casting a deceptive glow of peace over a town that was anything but calm. At General Hospital, tension hung in the air like fog, and the residents of this ever-turbulent town braced for another bombshell, though no one imagined it would come from young Rocco Falconeri. Lulu Spencer had just returned home from a long therapy session, one of many since waking up from her coma. Her return to the world hadn't been easy. Pieces of her life were missing, conversations fuzzy, and her relationships, especially with Dante and Rocco, were fragile at best. Dante Falconeri, once her rock, now felt like a stranger. His eyes no longer held the same warmth. They hadn't shared a real laugh in weeks. And Rocco, the boy was growing into a young man too quickly, and with that came secrets Lulu hadn't been prepared for. That morning, Rocco had locked himself in his room, refusing to come out. Lulu, confused, had knocked several times, finally opening the door when he didn't respond. "Rocco? Honey," she said softly. Rocco sat on the floor, knees hugged to his chest, face wet with tears. "Mom, I did something really bad," he whispered. Lulu's heart froze. "What is it, baby?" "I told Dad the truth. About you. About what you did, before your coma." Lulu blinked. Her mouth opened to speak, but no words came. "What are you talking about?" Rocco looked up, anger mixing with pain. "I heard you and Uncle Nicholas talking weeks ago. You thought I was asleep. You said," his voice broke. "You said you weren't going to tell Dad you cheated on him with Uncle Cyrus." The color drained from Lulu's face. She remembered that conversation. Nicholas had visited late at night, concerned. Lulu had confessed something she thought she had buried forever. The truth was, before the explosion that left her in a coma, she had been spiraling emotionally. Cyrus Renaud had offered her something dangerous: validation, freedom from her perfect Spencer legacy, and a promise that her mistakes could be erased with his power. She had fallen hard and regretted it instantly. "I wanted to forget it happened," Lulu whispered. "But it did happen," Rocco said, standing now, voice shaking. "I didn't mean to hurt anyone. I just thought Dad deserved to know." At that moment, the front door opened. Dante stood in the entryway, police badge at his hip, and a storm brewing behind his eyes. "Deserve to know what, Rocco?" Dante's voice was calm, too calm. Lulu turned, shielding Rocco instinctively. "Dante, wait. I think you should let him speak," Dante said, not taking his eyes off her. Rocco stepped forward, trembling. "Dad, I told you I heard them. And now Mom says it's true. She cheated on you. With Cyrus." Silence. A punch of silence. Dante's breathing slowed. His hand clenched into a fist, then released. He stepped closer, his voice like a whip. "You betrayed me? With Cyrus Renaud?" "Dante, I wasn't in my right mind. Everything was falling apart. I didn't even know who I was anymore." "You let that monster touch you," he roared. Lulu's lips quivered. "It wasn't love. It wasn't anything real. It was a mistake, one I never got the chance to confess because I was blown up." Dante's hand shot up and slap. The sound cracked like thunder across the living room. Lulu staggered back, clutching her cheek in stunned silence. Rocco screamed. "Dad, no!" But it was too late. Rocco ran to Lulu's side, shielding her now, his small frame trembling with rage and fear. "Get out," he yelled at his father. "You hit her. You're just like the monsters you arrest." Dante stood still, the weight of what he'd done crashing over him. His hand trembled, not from anger now, but from shame. I didn't mean," he whispered, stepping back. Lulu stood slowly, tears rolling down her cheeks. She didn't speak. She just looked at Dante, no hate, no fury, just a deep, cavernous sadness that made his knees weak. Dante backed toward the door, hand out. "I'm sorry. I don't know what came over me. He couldn't finish." He turned and fled. Word spread quickly through Port Charles. Olivia Falconeri slapped her own son when he tried to explain. "You struck Lulu? What have I raised?" Sonny Corinthos, who had once cheered for Dante's strength, stood in cold disappointment. "You of all people should know what trauma does to someone. You had no right." Even Laura Spencer couldn't protect her daughter's abuser. She loved you, Dante. And she survived for you. And now? She sighed. You've lost the very thing you were supposed to fight for. But the most painful reaction came from Sam McCall. I don't even know who you are anymore, she said simply, taking Scout's hand and walking away. Back home, Rocco sat on the couch, hugging a blanket as Lulu tended to her swollen cheek with an ice pack. He wouldn't meet her eyes. I didn't mean for this to happen, he whispered. I know, Lulu said softly. But you did the right thing. Secrets, they destroy us from the inside. I thought you'd both be mad at me. I'm not mad at you. I'm proud of you for speaking the truth. It was my lie, Rocco. Not yours to carry. He burst into tears. I wanted my family back. I ruined everything. Lulu pulled him into a hug, clutching him tightly. You didn't ruin anything. Your father made his choice. And now we pick up the pieces together. Dante sat alone at the Metro Court Bar, the same stool where years ago he'd proposed to Lulu. He had become the very thing he swore he'd never be. A man who raised his hand in anger. A man whose son looked at him with disgust. He had tried to call Lulu, to beg, to scream, to cry. She hadn't answered. Brooklyn passed him at the bar, gave him one look, and said only, "You don't get to play the victim." Those words echoed louder than any courtroom gavel. After days of silence, Lulu called Alexis Davis and asked for legal advice. I don't want to keep Rocco from him. But I can't risk being near Dante right now, she said. He needs to be supervised. I'll file the paperwork, Alexis said gently. And I'll help you protect your son. The court granted Lulu temporary full custody, with Dante restricted to supervised visits. Rocco wasn't sure how to feel. He missed his dad, but he was scared too. Dante went to therapy. He quit the force. He issued a public apology to Lulu and took full accountability. He appeared before the Peace PD Ethics Board and voluntarily surrendered his badge, citing emotional instability. But the damage had already been done. One night, he sat outside Lulu's home, not daring to knock. He saw her through the window, reading to Rocco. For a moment, he allowed himself to imagine a different life. One where he hadn't lost control. One where he had listened. Weeks later, Lulu found an envelope in the mailbox. It was from Dante. Lulu. There are no words I can offer that will ever undo what I did. I crossed a line, one I swore I never would. The shame I feel burns hotter than any punishment. I am walking away, not because I don't love you, but because I need to rebuild the man I used to be. Rocco deserves that. You deserve peace. One day, I hope you both can forgive me. Dante. Lulu folded the letter slowly, tears welling in her eyes. Rocco came up behind her. Are you okay? I will be, she whispered, hugging him close. We both will be. In the weeks that followed, Lulu found strength she hadn't known she still had. Therapy became a ritual, her bond with Rocco grew stronger, and she began working part-time at GH's Trauma Support Center, helping others heal. Rocco began therapy too, encouraged to talk through his fears, his guilt, his hopes. He drew pictures of families with bright suns and clear skies, and his therapist smiled. Healing was happening. As for Dante, he relocated to the outskirts of Port Charles, working in construction, trying to rebuild himself brick by brick. No fanfare. No badge. Just a man trying to be better. Sometimes the worst truths bring about the greatest change. Lulu didn't forget the slap. Rocco didn't forget the secrets. Dante didn't forget the shame. But they learned to grow around the pain. To use it as fuel, not chains. One afternoon, a year later, Rocco handed Lulu a crayon drawing. It was a picture of 3 hearts. One broken. One patched. One whole. Below it, the caption. Family isn't perfect. But it's still love. Lulu kissed his forehead. And in the quiet peace of their home, they began again.